we are going to give a briefing on where we're at with the investigation, along with some additional information as far as the status of a few incidents today, as far as the calls for service that we've received. To date, so far today, we have received 265 calls for suspicious packages since we asked the public to come to us if they observed something that looks suspicious, if they received a package they were not expecting. So I very much appreciate that the community has listened and that you are bringing us your concerns, and I want to implore you to continue to do so. And again, our message is, if you have a package that has been placed on your doorstep, in your yard, on your driveway, that you were not expecting, that does not appear to have come from an official shipping source, then please call us and let us come and clear that package. If it did not come from an official distributor like the U.S. Postal Service, whether it's UPS, FedEx, or DHL, then we want to know about that. What is occurring here in this community is packages are being left on doorsteps overnight. They are not coming through the mail. They are not being delivered by any of the professional services that serve in the Austin community. But again, if you feel like it is suspicious, call us and we will respond to that. Out of all of these incidents that have come up, we have not found any one additional package that was suspicious or that was involved in any way in the investigation that we have ongoing right now. I want to talk for a minute about the impact that this has had on our community. We have lost 2 lives in this community, and we have an additional 2 that have been forever changed. And we can't take that away, but our hearts go out to the families that have been involved in this incident and that have lost loved ones or had loved ones seriously injured. The 17-year-old boy that was murdered yesterday has been identified as Draylon Mason. And from everything I've heard about Draylon, he was an outstanding young man who was going places with his life. And it's an absolute tragedy that he is no longer with us. His mother is in stable condition right now. And the additional victim from yesterday, a 75-year-old Hispanic female who will remain unnamed, is still in critical condition with life-threatening injuries. And we continue to pray for a speedy and complete recovery for her. These incidents have had a dramatic impact on us as a community, and it's us working together as a community that's going to help us clear these cases. And to that's why I want to highlight the team that we have here today that is focused on clearing this case. I've got the city manager, Spencer Crump, who has been involved from day one, who has stayed on top of what we're doing and ensuring that we have the resources that are necessary. Assistant City Manager Ray Ariano, who oversees all of the public services as we're all working together on this. I have Special Agent Chris Combs from the FBI San Antonio Bureau, who oversees this entire region, and Special Agent Jeff Boschek from the ATF, who also oversees all ATF operations for this region, and members of the APD executive team with me up here. What you don't see up here, but what you saw out there both yesterday and again back on March 2nd, was a level of cooperation and participation from local and federal agencies that was, although unfortunate that it's necessary, was impressive to have brought all these resources here. We are not going to leave any stone unturned, and we are going to follow up on every lead until we can clear this case. To that end, we are announcing today a $50,000 reward for any information that leads to an arrest in this case. Again, a $50,000 reward for information that leads to an arrest. We are asking people that want to pass along a tip to us to do one of 2 things. Either contact us at our tip line through Crime Stoppers, and that number is 512-472-TIPS, TIPS. The numbers for that are 8477. Or, in addition to the $50,000 reward that has been put forward today, we want to thank the governor for putting forward a $15,000 reward already, again leading to an arrest in this case. And again, the state number for Crime Stoppers that has been put forward already is 1-800-252-TIPS. Again, people with tips can call either of those numbers and they will end up within the task force that we have put together with our local, state, and federal agencies that are all focused on bringing justice to this city and bringing this suspect or suspects into our custody. I want to address for a moment what happened on the first incident on March 2nd. When we were at that incident on that day, we indicated that at that time we did not believe there was any further concern or threat to this community, and that we believed that it was an isolated incident. And those comments and that belief was based on the information that we had at that moment. What we had was a singular event that had taken place in this community that was very unique. We had no information to believe that it was related to a larger plan at that time. And in fact, our working theory that day involved an operation that we had conducted earlier that week involving a raid on a home in the same street where we took a significant amount of cash out of a drug stash house. That house looks very similar in color, and the vehicles were very similar as well, and we believed that this may have actually been a retaliatory act for the raid that we did on that house, and that they simply got the wrong house. That was our initial theory, and then as we continued to investigate it, we changed the classification to a suspicious death because, again, we didn't want to rule out any possible scenario by which this may have taken place. Similar to how we are not ruling out terrorism or not ruling out hate, we didn't want to rule out any other possible motive here or any other possible way that this had happened. We're not saying that we believe terrorism or hate is in play, but we absolutely have to consider that because we don't want to limit what we are investigating, what we are considering, and how we are approaching this case. So that was very important that day, that we believed what we had was an isolated incident. Now, at the end of this press conference, after everyone has spoken, we're going to open it up for questions. But I want to say right now, we are not going to answer questions about that investigation that I just spoke about. But I felt it was important for the community to understand, in addition to that being only a singular incident, we also had a pretty strong working theory that day, and that led us to believe that we were dealing with an isolated incident on that day. We, again, want to express great condolences to the families that have suffered losses in our community. We stand with them, and we will be with them as they get through the healing process. And again, I'll highlight that we have brought every resource to bear so that we can bring these cases to a quick and final resolution and bring someone into our custody or persons, if this is being done by multiple suspects, and put this to an end. And with that, I'm going to turn this now over to Special Agent Chris Combs of the FBI for additional comments.
Thank you, Chief. Good afternoon, everyone. First, I'd like to say to the people of Austin that you should have great faith in your police department. Austin Police Department is a great partner. The Chief is a great leader in the law enforcement here in Texas, and I commend their efforts so far. The FBI has joined the investigation, obviously, because of the seriousness of what we saw yesterday. We work very well together with our partners. Austin Police Department is on our Joint Terrorism Task Force, on the Violent Crimes Task Force, and it's a relationship we have every day. So it's not abnormal to see us here standing with Austin PD and with ATF as well. We share a number of task forces together. We have brought many of our national assets here to Austin to assist with this. Out of our Quantico, we have brought the behavioral profilers. We brought in a number of evidence teams, bomb techs. I want the people of Austin to know that the full resources of the FBI is being brought to bear to help on this, and we will continue to work with our partners until we get to resolution. We will be here with the Chief and with Austin Police Department until we resolve this and we make sure that there are no other explosive devices in the city. Thank you very much, Chief.
Thank you, Agent Combs. And now Special Agent Jeff Boschek of the ATF for comments as well for ATF's participation and role.
Good afternoon, Jeff Boschek with ATF. First and foremost, I would like to wish the victims here and let them know that the men and women of ATF have our condolences. What happened here was horrific. As a father, a son, a husband, I can't imagine what the families are going through right now at home. And to the people of Austin, Texas, thank you for your support and what you're doing for the people that are helping to investigate this crime. The relationship here has been great. I got down here yesterday with our APD partners and our FBI partners and everybody else that's assisting in the investigation. What we've brought as far as ATF is our national response team, which is made up of approximately 30 specialists from around the country that are here to investigate and help figure out who did this, in a joint relationship with our partners here. That includes analysts, senior special agents, and certified explosive specialists. We also have agents from all around Texas, from as far north as Dallas and all the way down to Brownsville, here today, and will be here until someone's arrested for this horrific crime. They will continue to work with our partners up here to ensure that no stone is left unturned in this investigation. All the evidence that's been collected and will continue to be collected is being sent to the ATF laboratory in Walnut Creek, California, for examination as soon as it's deemed proper timing to do so. And I just would like to thank again the partnership that I've seen here, and thank you for everything, the welcoming of ATF.
There are a few other agencies that are playing key roles that are not here today because they're back at the command center working on this, and that is the Department of Public Safety is playing a key role, and the United States Postal Service as well is on this task force team. We held a briefing earlier today to get everyone in the same room and up to speed. There were approximately 100 people in that briefing, and also represented were both the Travis County DA herself along with the AUSA for our region, because we are making sure that we're focused on where this case will end up even on these early days, so we ensure that everything we do is setting this case up for prosecution when we capture the suspect or suspects that are responsible for this. So again, I want to finally close out with imploring this community, please partner with us on this. Be our eyes, be our ears. If you see something, say something, call us. If you know something, call the tip line. There is now a combined $65,000 reward available for information that leads to an arrest in this case. We need to put a stop to this before anybody else in our community is seriously injured or killed. And with that, we'll open it up for questions.
Chief, the victims are linked in any way to one another?
That is part of the ongoing investigation right now, is investigating the backgrounds of all of the victims, because one of the key things we're trying to understand is there a connection between the victims? What is the victimology? What is the motive behind these attacks? And that's one of the investigative avenues that we are tracking. I know there have been some reports in the media that have identified a relationship between two of the individuals in this, and our detectives are currently looking at that to evaluate that lead and to see if it is in fact relevant to what we are investigating.
Chief, people in the community are scared of two things. They're scared, one, that maybe this is a racial violence, racial attack against them, and then also that the police didn't care enough after March 2nd to warn them to be worried about packages. Do you have anything you can do to alleviate those fears? Either of those fears?
Sure. I think I've addressed the March 2nd incident. We simply had a singular incident that occurred in this community, and we had a very strong working theory on that day based on an incident that had occurred 3 days earlier, and the similarities between the houses, the similarities between the vehicles, and the fact that this was a major drug operation that we took down. We had a very strong theory that we were working under. We didn't stop at that, however. The very next day we came out and we put safety tips out to this community about things to be careful for packages. In regards to whether or not there are any specific communities within Austin that need to be more concerned than another, my answer is no. We are just not going to ignore the fact that the 3 victims that were targeted specifically that we know of were all people of color. We cannot ignore that. That is something we have to pay attention to. That does not indicate that it's a hate crime, but we are not going to rule that out because we don't want to limit anything that we're considering as we investigate this case.
Where did the third bomb detonate, and who was the target of that package?
So we don't know who the target was on that third one, but what we do know is that the victim in that case attempted to pick that package up, at which point it exploded.
Was the victim actually live at the house where the package exploded?
that's part of the investigation. I know there's been speculation about whether that was her residence or not, and that's not something we're going to release at this time.
Well, Chief, to try to help narrow the scope, as far as the marking on the package, obviously you got a ton of phone calls today, people concerned probably about every type of package under the sun. Help narrow that scope. I know you can't get in too deeply. Can you say anything about the marking or who it might have been addressed to? Anything at all?
What I will say is we're dealing with cardboard packages that have been placed on people's doorsteps or yards in the overnight hours that are not at all identifiable as a standard shipping box or standard shipping labels. I'm not going to go into the specific writing that is on these packages, but I also don't want people to let their guard down if they have a suspicious item in their yard that's been placed there overnight. That's a different type of a container, because we don't want to limit the fact that these 3 incidents have used one type of a packaging, that they might not change their method if they were choose to attempt another attack in our community.
What's been inside the packages?
I'm not going to go into the specifics of what these bombs were comprised of. That is part of the information that we're keeping for the integrity of the case.
In general terms, are their devices similar or different?
What we have right now is similarities that we believe link the 3 cases together. Again, without going into the specifics of that, and I'll ask if you want to talk any further about that. There's information that we just have to keep confidential now because of the integrity of the case, and the information that you're asking for as far as the design and the components, it does nothing to help the community stay any safer. Any information that's going to help this community stay safe, we're going to put that out immediately, and that's why we're talking about any suspicious package that you're finding that's been left in your yard or on your porch overnight. Let us know if it is not marked appropriately or if you were not expecting it.
Chief, to your federal partners.
These bombs were detonated. Did they go off when they were picked up by the person, or is it possible someone was nearby and detonated them remotely when they were picked up?
Do you want to? I'll talk briefly. No. What we know right now is that in 2 of the instances when these packages were picked up, they exploded. In a 3rd incident, the package was brought inside the residence, and while it was being opened, it exploded. That's the information we have right now. As far as detonation devices and all that, that is the ATF specialty, and that is the work that's being done in the ATF lab right now as they piece these things back together.
What exactly is blast reconstruction? Does that happen on the scene where the explosion happened, or does that happen later in the lab?
So what we're doing is we have our experts on multiple scenes right now who are searching for evidence related from the blast scene. These folks know exactly what they're looking for, well, as it relates to any kind of an explosive device. So what they'll do is they'll collect this evidence with our partners, and we'll ship it back to our Walnut Creek lab, at which point they will try and reconstruct whatever was inside that device.
How easy or complex would it be for someone to put together 3 of these types of bombs and for them to go off successfully?
I can't speak to that right now.
What does
A question for
strike
the,
you? There have been comparisons, obviously, to the Unabomber and also to the DC sniper attacks. As far as the federal role here, what strikes you guys in terms of your own careers? Have you ever seen anything like this? How's this thing strike you?
I believe we've all seen things like this somewhere along our careers. So it's all about, there's one person out there or a couple that know how these bombs were made, and it's our job to figure out who that is and bring them to justice.
But how common are package bombs, and do you know what kind of groups nationally or people nationally tend to favor them if they're committing crimes?
No, sir. I mean, Special Agent in Charge Combs, do you want to speak to that in regards to?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen a lot of different groups do package bombs. So as the chief said, we're not narrowing our focus on any particular type of crime. I think what's most important is that we've had 3 devices explode. So whether that's a hate crime or terrorism or organized crime, it's somewhat insignificant. What's significant is the effort to find who's making these devices to make sure that there's not a 4th or 5th device.
Some of the neighbors who were on Haverford Street on the March 2nd bombings, they were shown a picture by the FBI. Is that still a person of interest? Is that still something you're continuing to investigate?
Yeah, I'm not aware of that picture, sir.
Two more questions.
Chief, one thing to clarify, you mentioned the 265 calls for suspicious packages. You guys are going one by one to those packages across the city as you get the calls. Is that accurate?
Yes, we are responding to each call. They're not like going in sequence one by one. If there's 3 going on at the same time and we have 3 officers deployed, they will go to those calls. But yes, we are responding to those calls. The initial officer will respond and assess the situation, and if it's appropriate and necessary, they'll bring in the next level, which could be an explosive detecting canine team or a bomb tech themselves. And again, we're partnered with the United States Postal Service, who has teams here in Austin now as well assisting us with this.
What kind
Chief,
of
is there
injuries
any relationship between Erica Mason and the teenage victim? Has that name come up in your investigation?
I'm not sure the linkage on that name right now.
What kind of injuries do the 2 people who were hospitalized have?
So without going into the specifics of the injuries, you can imagine explosions like these that are taking place. Y'all only have to go back and look at the front porch of the March 2nd incident on Haverford to see the explosive blast that took place there. These are traumatic, penetrating injuries along with the concussive wave that can cause significant injury. So these individuals have obviously exposed our victims to a level of violence that has resulted in the death of 2 and the serious injuries to 2 others. Thank you very much.